Hi everyone, welcome back to Module 3. I hope that the course is going well for you so far, that you're finding the Jupyter notebooks useful, that the lab assignments have been good educational experiences. Please don't hesitate to be in touch. Let me know how you're feeling about the course. So, this is Module 3, which is all about JSON files or JSON files. JSON is the most common way that data is transferred over the internet. And if you are going to be working with data that you get from some internet application, you are almost certainly going to be working with JSON files. It's a really important topic. So, JSON files are distinguished from flat files or rectangular files. Now, flat files and rectangular files are the kinds of files that we worked with last week. These are CSVs or other ASCII files. They could be Excel files, Stata, SAS, SPSS. They're all built around the idea of a rectangular spreadsheet. And that is, on each row, there's an entry for every field or feature or variable or column, even if that entry is a missing value. Okay? All entries in a column have the same type. That is, as you go down a column, every single one of those data points is a string, or every single one of them is numeric, but not a mix of string and numeric. But what if we had non-rectangular data where the different observations could have different kinds of data points, different numbers of data points? What if one feature, as you go record to record, observation to observation, could sometimes be a string, could sometimes be a number? A JSON file is designed exactly for that situation. So JSON stands for JavaScript, excuse me, getting over a cold. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's one of the most frequently used data formats for transferring data over the internet. Okay, APIs almost all use JSONs. We're going to talk about that next week. And JSON was attributed to Douglas Crockford, who was an architect at Yahoo and invented this stuff in 2001. But in the talk, and there's a YouTube video embedded on our Jupyter notebook for this week, I encourage you to find some time to just watch that video. It's really interesting. It's 45 minutes long, so I get if you don't have time. But if you ever want to watch a 45-minute YouTube video, and come on, like there are cats and stuff, just like use some on JSON, right? Anyway, he said, I discovered JSON. I do not claim to have invented JSON because it already existed in nature. What I did was I found it, I named it, and described how it was useful. So he's saying that the JSON format for storing data is so intuitive as to exist in nature already, which is quite a claim, but still, you can judge for yourself. The idea of JSON is to be universal. So in 2001, the idea was to create a data standard, excuse me, a data standard that could work on every single web browser, whether it was Netscape back then, or Mozilla, or dare I say it, Internet Explorer, right? It needed to work on all of these. It also needed to be lightweight. That means a minimal amount of extraneous code. So another data transfer standard is called XML. But XML gets a lot of negative attention for having a lot of superfluous code. You open a tag, you close a tag, and there's just like a bunch of stuff going on in XML. JSON sacrifices some features and functionality in order to have minimalism. So the way that Douglas Crockford put it, he said, one of the key design goals behind JSON was minimalism. My idea was that the less we have to agree on in order to interoperate, the more likely we're going to be able to interoperate well. If the interfaces are really simple, we can easily connect. And if the interfaces are really complicated, the likelihood that something's going to go wrong goes way, way up. So I endeavored to make JSON as simple as possible. It makes sense to me. It's pretty cool. So this is what JSON looks like. This box here is a CSV file. This is based on the ANES from last week. So here we have 5 features and 5 observations. And data points separated by commas. Now we can express the same data in JSON format this way. Okay? So I just want to point out a couple things. First, note the square braces that begin and end the structure here. These square braces always denote a list in Python. And then note the curly braces. These curly braces denote a set. And knowing the difference between lists and sets is a big deal for understanding what JSON is and how Python reads a JSON. So this is just the first record within that list contained in the curly braces, right? This notation, by the way, is called object literal syntax. You don't need to remember that. I just wanted you to know the lingo. The curly braces are a set, and a set is like a list with two differences. First, elements cannot be repeated. And second, elements cannot be, excuse me, elements can't be put in an order. So typing 1, 2, 3 and set 1, 2, 3 are, for all intents and purposes, the same thing. But if you type a list of 3, 3, 2, 1 and a set of 3, 3, 2, 1, they're going to be different. The reason is the list, this one here, it has information about the ordering. So if you were to say, what's element 1? Or rather, element 0, because this is Python. What's element 0? It'll say 3. What's element 1? It'll say 3. The set doesn't have ordering, and it doesn't accept repeats. So it will tell you 1, 2, and 3, and it won't be able to tell the difference between what's the first element and what's the second element of that. Also, elements of a list cannot be named, but elements of a set can be given names. And so in this case, we have these data points, 1 and 76 and so on. We can name the first one case ID, and the second one FT Republican, the third FT Democrat, and so on. In Python, a set that contains variable names or feature names, as well as data points, is called a dictionary. Okay? A dictionary means that these feature names cannot be repeated and that the order of these features or variables doesn't matter. A JSON file, according to Python, is a list of dictionaries. One dictionary for every record or observation in our data.